welcome to season 2 of They Say. I am so honored to be sitting here in front of you versus sitting in my computer screen. Thanks to my great friend Andrew for reaching out to me and asking me to come in and record a live podcast. So, season 2 is going to be very different. I'm honored to have somebody that I pretty much have grown up with, Ashlee Martin. Thank you so much for saying yes. You're a hot commodity. So, when the people see this, oh my Lord, they're going to be very excited. So, Ashlee, please introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit about who you are.
Sure. That's interesting for us to talk like this because, like, we're basically family. But Ashlee Martin, I am now white collar criminal defense attorney. I have a white collar boutique firm here in Houston. Got about 10 lawyers. I'm a former federal prosecutor and a Spelman girl and a mom.
Yes. Wow. That was a lot. I'm excited. So, Ashlee, I think the way to really break the ice on this and really have like a genuine conversation, let's start about how we met. So, I have known Ashlee since I was 17 and she was 18.
And I was 19.
19, yeah. Okay. She was 19. I was almost 18 because I was leaving for college. That's right. So I've known her for a good amount of time, and I don't even know if people realize that I actually know her in real life, that's the fun part. I think I love keeping the mystery of actually who I know for real. So kind of let's talk about my graduation party. Oh, Lord. That's how we met.
Yes. So I, at the time, was dating her brother.
Yes.
And he brought me home.
Yes.
For her graduation party. He was so excited to bring me to San Diego.
Yes.
And I was there. I stayed at the house with Allison for an entire weekend, and she managed to not say a word to me.
Yes, I
did. The whole time. Even when I directly asked her questions, she then answered someone else. And the entire weekend.
Yes.
And so she was a true brat.
Yes.
But I've grown to love her.
Yes. Yes. So we truly, I didn't play when it came to my brother. And it's funny because she's right. I didn't talk to her. And my parents thought something was wrong with me, but I think they've become accustomed to it, right? But she's absolutely correct. She is the mother of my nephew. I love and adore her. It's down to the fact that people probably won't see this side of me, but I'll show just a little bit that I'll ride for her. So we don't play about Ashlee Martin. Just let that be known. But the great part about it is it's the relationship that we have cultivated throughout the years. So I've seen Ashlee in many different spaces, just as she has also seen me in many spaces. Most people don't realize this, and I'm going to embarrass my daughter. Ashlee was the one that got Samira to do her first steps when she was 10 months old. They came from Nashville to visit. And Ashlee's like, we're not leaving Samira until you walk.
And she walked.
And she walked.
Yeah.
So we'll never forget those moments. So one thing about family, and the dynamics might change of partnerships and stuff, but when you love somebody, and I can honestly say she's my real sister because I fought her. like she was a stranger, but I fought her like she's family. But one thing I will tell you, you don't play about family, and I really, really believe that. So I'm honored to have her here. I'm honored that she's my first. Well, I love you too. I'm honored that she's my first live guest because I think to really get an authentic story, you need to see somebody weather some storms. So let's talk about your journey because you have such a dynamic journey from coming from Spelman to going to Vanderbilt. Like you have really transcended a lot of spaces that most people would be uncomfortable in. So tell us about that journey.
Yeah, well, it started before Spelman, but Spelman was a huge part of my journey. Yep. I feel like I became a very confident woman at Spelman.
Yes.
And I've always known I wanted to be a lawyer from the time I was 8 years old. Claire Huxtable was the icon for me. And so was very focused in undergrad.
Yeah.
I met your brother pretty early. We got married at 22.
Yep.
And right before going to law school and went to Vanderbilt Law School. And I started off doing labor and employment law at a big firm here in Houston. Mm-hmm. But I knew right away that was not it. Right. I knew I wanted to be a lawyer, but I knew I did not want to represent corporations fighting over money.
Okay.
And so I've very early on wanted to figure out, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? I know I want to be a lawyer, but what am I supposed to be doing? And I wanted to be a trial lawyer. I wanted to get in the courtroom. I wanted to know how to do that. And so I just told everybody that would listen to me, that I want to be a lawyer. I want to learn how to be a trial lawyer. And I don't think I'm going to be able to do that here. What do I need to do? And one person I talked to was the former U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Texas. And he said, you need to go to the government.
Okay.
Um,
So let's pause there and
Yeah.
let's unpack that, because you said a lot in a little bit of time, and that's how we know you're a lawyer. But let's unpack this, because that's something that you touched on, and I hear a lot of relationships and being clearly focused. So what do you think set the foundation for you to understand your focus and the importance of relationships?
I think really part of my personality since I was a kid has just been, when I see something that I want, I go after it. I set goals and just sort of very driven towards those things. And I think the people around me, my family, my friends, always set very high expectations for me, which helps fuel that. You know, I wanted to make people proud and going after that. But like you said, with relationships, what I've learned throughout my career is that more than anything, almost on par with how hard you work
Yeah.
and how smart you are, is how you deal with other people and how you maintain and connect with other people.
Yeah.
And throughout my journey, every opportunity that I've gotten that I've considered to be a pivotal opportunity has been because who I know and who knows me and who recognizes, either my talent, my effort. But it's been important to have those relationships.
That's very, very important, and I want to stay there a little bit longer, because I feel like we're at a pivotal moment with this generation, the Axel generation, the Samira generation, that's 17 to like 11, which is really random numbers. I went backwards, but I feel like we're at a pivotal moment, because how do we help those that come behind us understand the importance of relationships and how that can absolutely change the trajectory with just one phone call?
I mean, we need to make sure that our kids are connecting with people, with the other kids. I mean, I honestly think that the skills I learned in connecting with others happened when I was playing outside with other kids. I mean, you start to figure out who's who and how to problem solve and how to be creative and how to manage that. And so I think it can be an advantage and a disadvantage. But technology and the way that people connect now is very superficial.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the ways to do that is just to make sure they get together and connect with one another to build those skills.
I think that's powerful, and I do agree with you that technology kind of takes away the ability. It brings you together, but it also takes the ability away to truly make a deeper connection. So as you pivoted through your career, and not just career, but as you pivoted through school, because you went to a HBCU, then you landed at a PWI. And not just like a PWI, like you're in Nashville, like you're at a real PWI, like that's like a real PWI. So how did you manage that? Like those waters, did Spelman prepare you? Was it what you learned as a child? Like, how did you manage that?
Well, I'm gonna be honest about Spelman.
Okay.
I didn't know much about Spelman before I went there.
Okay.
And at the time, I thought an HBCU was like a backup school. You know, I was looking at Harvard, Yale, Stanford. Those are the schools that I was being pushed to go to. And it was my mom that said, "I want you to go look at Spelman." And I was like, "Well, okay, fine, just to make you happy." But when I went and I visited the school and I was around those beautiful, smart Black women, it was magical.
Yes.
And it was something that I don't think I could have gotten anywhere else. It really touched my soul in a sense, beyond just going there to get a college education. And so once I went and saw, I did not even apply anywhere else. And, and I was being offered scholarships to go to some of those others. I didn't even apply.
Oh, wow.
I knew Spelman was it. So the thing that I think that was so special about Spelman was that sort of inner confidence, that security in who you are, that you can do anything, that power that is sort of, it's already in you, but they cultivate it.
Right.
So when I went to Vanderbilt or wherever else I was gonna go, I knew I already had it in me. I could sit at any table, I can walk in any room, because they cultivate the confidence in everyone that's there. And I think that to me was most powerful lesson that I carried with me no matter where I went beyond that. You know, those formative years of becoming a young woman are extremely important to be able to walk out of that space and know that you can do anything, you can accomplish anything, and to be surrounded about so many other women who felt the same, who knew the same. And also, I was able to sort of like pull away that part of my identity, as a minority in this country.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people see you as a Black woman or
Yep.
as a woman.
Yep.
So if you can go in an environment when you being Black and you being a woman is no longer something that defines you, now it's like, who are you? Who are you now?
Mm-hmm.
When that's not sort of the primary thing, and you're able to develop as a person, while taking those parts of your identity with you, it's very proud, and they're part of you, but you can develop the rest of yourself. And so I think Spelman was huge anchoring force for me.
That's awesome. So how did that translate? Because I remember when I came to Nashville and I visited you guys when I was pregnant with Samira, it was a culture shock for me, and I'm from San Diego, so it was very much a culture shock. But you being from Vegas originally, right?
Well, I'm from Lamarck, Texas.
Okay.
Small town, Texas. First.
Lamarck, Texas. So you being from there, how was it being in Nashville for you?
It didn't matter.
Okay.
Law school was about one thing.
Okay.
I was about going there and doing the best I could in law school. So I didn't even get out in Nashville. I was in the library. I was in school. It wasn't about, the culture or isn't enough Black people here. It did not matter. I was about my books.
Okay.
And so for me, there comes a time when you are so focused on one goal, nothing else matters.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing that mattered for those 3 years was, how can I get in here, do the very best I can, and accomplish this goal that I've been wanting to accomplish my entire life. And when I got there, I actually enjoyed law school. It was a great challenge, but I enjoyed it. It was diverse enough. I got friends that looked like everything. But I never thought, there's not very many Black folks in Nashville or in the school, and so somehow that has any effect on me. It doesn't. I'm Ashlee. So I walk in a room as Ashlee, and it's like, happy to engage with whomever is in there.
That's good. I have so many thoughts. I'm like, which way do I want to take this? Gosh, you just opened up, so that was really good. So let's kind of transition now to your roles, because you, being a lawyer, you've been in a lot of rooms. You're in a male-predominant industry. There's not a lot of females. So we understand your stance of you being Ashlee, which is powerful, and I'm grateful you learned that at such a young age. But how have you been able to pivot so much? Because you've had some pretty interesting careers.
Well, I've always been obviously as a lawyer, but I've been heart-led.
Okay.
I'm always trying to touch into, what am I doing, and is this what I'm supposed to be doing right now? And I tell, young lawyers or young people this all the time that come up to me. It's like, no one else can tell you what you're supposed to be doing. You know that in your heart.
Right.
And so I knew when I was at the big firm and I was making all the money, I was like, I saw people get comfortable. They called it the golden handcuffs, but I was like, this isn't it. I need to go build my skills. I need to go build myself as a lawyer. So when I left that, I took an $80,000 pay cut at the time to work for the government.
Yeah.
And even at the government, I'm continually assessing, okay, I'm here to get these skills. I feel like I got them. Am I supposed to be here?
Right.
And there were opportunities being offered along the way. Well, you can move up in the government. You can go to DC. You can go head this organization or that. And you're always going to have offers of prestige. If you're good at what you do, there's always going to be offers of money, prestige, whatever. But you have to go inside and figure out, okay, what am I supposed to be doing now? Am I doing that? And what do I need to be doing to do the next step? And so I'm constantly, checking in with myself about, am I being true to who I am, and am I doing the thing I'm supposed to be doing in that moment?
So let's unpack that a little bit more, because I feel like this will be helpful for the generations coming. When you say you had to check in with yourself and you weren't afraid to take a pay cut, that takes a lot of guts. Like, people are not just doing that every day. A lot of, to bet on yourself, you really have to be very intentional about that. So how did you know that you were making the right bets every time?
I didn't.
Okay, so tell us about it.
I think people think, and I've gotten a lot of friends that tell me this, like, oh, you're so bold, you have so much courage.
Right.
And, I was scared every moment. Like every time I made a decision, I didn't know if it was the right thing, but I felt good about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked, and sometimes the more people I asked, the more confusing it became, because everybody has their thoughts about what you're supposed to do. People I
So true.
respected, people that I thought, knew very well, about the industry. And everybody had different thoughts. And so every time I sort of still myself, and I'm a believer in writing things down.
Okay.
And so there were times where I would write down, okay, what do I want? What are the things I enjoy about what I do? What are the things I wish I wanted, and that sort of thing? And try to just sort of think about, okay, what job encompasses these things that I love to do? What without the things I don't like to do?
Right.
And I remember when I was at the government, I was trying to figure. I'd been there for 5 years. I had moved up. I was an assistant chief within 2.5 years. I had tried like 8 jury trials
Oh
in two
wow.
years. And they were offering me an opportunity to move to DC and like head the unit.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody said I should do this because they're
Right.
going to make a position for you and you're going to be this, that, and the other. And I just knew, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. And I wrote down, I said, you know what I really want? I want my own firm.
Mm-hmm.
And I even wrote down what I wanted the URL to be.
Okay.
I said I wanted to partner up with someone who was really established already doing white collar criminal defense work.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have this autonomy. I wrote down how much money I wanted,
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what happened.
Get to writing, Samira. Get to writing.
It's exactly what happened, down to the dollar.
Yeah.
And so, but it was an internal process.
Mm-hmm.
You have to kind of go within yourself, be real with yourself about what you want, what you don't want, and what skills you have, what you don't. Maybe you don't have the skills. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
need to be looking up at, okay, if I don't have these skills, what do I need to do to get them? How do I distinguish myself?
Yep.
How do I make me stand out such that I can then be kind of in control of my own destiny?
Which is important. So let's talk about you going to the boutique law firm, and then you were the youngest partner. I remember when you had your celebration.
Mm-hmm.
That was huge, and that was something. You even had wasn't the governor.
Al Green.
You had Al Green there, and I was like, wow, she's made it. Al Green is in the building. So tell us about that process, because to see, as someone on the outside looking in, to see you always going, I often thought, did she ever get tired? Like, I would think that in my head. Like, did she get tired?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you do it all? You know what I'm saying? And still manage to kind of keep it together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really, I think that's a great question for you. Like, how did you were a partner, like you've accomplished so much and now can I say your age is okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And now you're 40.
Mm-hmm.
So you've accomplished like what 60 and 70-year-olds are doing. So that you've done this at 40,
Mm-hmm.
man, like tell us about that. And I have another question after that, but I don't want to do it yet.
I'm really, really grateful because I felt like God has kept me for sure.
Okay.
So I don't want to take the credit because I don't have, I didn't do this on my own. I have one of the things I think that has attributed to me being here so fast is being so focused.
Okay.
I have been really focused from the time I was a young person. And, personal challenges come.
Yes.
And I deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I never let that sort of take me away from the end goal for me, which honestly, it wasn't just a career was the end goal. That's not the end goal for me. Because I've always said I never wanted to be the woman that had a great career, but her personal life was miserable.
Mm-hmm.
So the end goal for me is a good life.
Okay.
Period. And I approach my career that way. I approach my career in the sense of I want to be able to do something and have the time and the freedom and the money and all of that to create a good life.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though, I do have a busy work, I have plenty of time to be a mom. I have plenty of time to travel and be a friend and all of those other things. And so I never wanted to be out of balance. And so if a job was extremely prestigious and it was going to I was going to have to move or I was going to have to work way too much for way too long. That job is no longer enticing to me.
Okay.
Because to me, it's about the holistic view.
So you're of the notion that one can have it all.
Yes.
Okay.
I do think that.
Well,
I feel like I have it all right now.
So I want you to write a book. No, I'm serious. I want you to write a book.
But it's all about your perspective.
Okay, that's where we're
going.
going.
If you think about it, right? If you woke up this morning and your arms work and your legs work and your heart is beating and you can see and you can hear and you can taste and you can touch and you've got love around you and you've got a warm bed and you got some nice clothes and you put food in your mouth and you got in a car and you did something fun and you got to experience the sunshine, is that not having it all? I mean, what more can you ask for?
Yeah.
So yes, I have it all.
Okay. That's good, because I think a lot of professional women, and this is why I wanted you on, a lot of women in that corporate space who on the outside people would say have made it, right? I don't know if you attribute and feel like you've made it or is there still room. But they feel like you can't have it all and there's really no balance.
I think that's all a matter of perspective.
Okay, so tell us more about this perspective.
I honestly think that is a matter of perspective. Like and when I say have it all, I don't mean that my life is perfect.
Right.
And there's not room to grow and develop and some things that I want to change or be different. But I'm absolutely and I'm being honest. When I wake up in the morning, I am happy. I love my life. Like I genuinely love my life.
As somebody that's known you, and I can confidently say this, I see a difference in you.
Yeah.
This time around. And I've known her for a long time.
I haven't always been able to say that.
Right, but it's a visible difference.
Yeah, I really do love my life. And I've been through enough that has allowed me to appreciate the things that oftentimes we take for granted.
Right.
I read this quote somewhere where it says, when you're healthy, you have 99 problems. But when you are sick, you've got one problem.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's someone that's sick in the bed in the hospital and all they want is to be healthy. And we're walking around healthy and we're thinking and we're worried and we got anxiety and we fear all these other things. That means we're overlooking, we're not paying attention to the real gifts we have, the real blessings. And if you can change your perspective about that, then you will be able to see we all have it all.
Right.
As long as we're here and we're breathing and we have love, you have it all.
Wow. I feel like we should clap. Like I just want to clap. I want to clap. I want to clap. I love that. I want to clap. We're going to clap.
Yeah. No, it's all about perspective. So I can be going, and I've gone through hell. We can talk about it. I have gone through hell.
Wait, let me roll up my sleeve. I'm ready.
But that's what I've learned. It's everyone will go through it. And there are people that have the things that you think you would want that make you happy. They have it and they're not happy.
Right.
You can have $1 billion and not be happy. You can have, look like whatever you want to look like and weigh whatever you want to weigh, still not be happy because it's about a perspective.
So we talked about this over the phone and I was like, tell me more. But I was like, no, wait. So I want you to unpack your perspective more because I actually think it's I find it a little intriguing. And what you told me was, Allison, I didn't fail. And I was like, what? I was like, girl, what? You ain't failed.
Oh, I said I've never failed.
You say you never failed. And I was like, what? I was like, tell me more about this. But I was like, no, wait, don't tell me yet.
Yeah, you asked, can we talk about your failures? I said, I don't have any failures.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't see anything that I've gone through as a failure.
Okay.
Everything was meant for my good to propel me to the next thing. Everything. So I don't have any failures.
That's that perspective. Yeah. We just need to sell your perspective. Like put it in a book, put it in a workbook.
It's not mine. I mean, it's pretty old. I
no,
think it's,
but I'm serious. Like people don't.
It's in the Bible.
Like
I mean, all things work together for the good. You know what I mean? It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. So but I believe that truly.
Yeah.
All things work together for the good for those who love God. Like that, I believe that. So if you really think all things work together for the good, then thank you. I missed my flight or my car got stolen or I'm going to get another car. Or I missed a accident I wasn't supposed to be in or I got divorced. Thank you. That's going to get me to the next relationship I'm supposed to have or whatever.
Okay. You go, girl.
It's thank you.
We are here for it.
I live in a place of gratitude.
In a place of gratitude.
And when I am unhappy or whatever, it's because I'm not being grateful and I'm not having the right perspective. So I've gotten here because I've lived the other way, and I've seen that it does not matter what I accomplish or what I have or whatever. You know, there were times where I was still unhappy, and I didn't understand why I couldn't experience joy when I should have been.
Right.
You know, it's that should, like, you've got it all. What do you? But I didn't have the right perspective.
So your perspective, the shifting of your perspective,
yeah,
really
it's all in your
up.
mind.
I think that's good. I think that's really good. Oh man, that was really good. So now that you're in this place of being a partner, so you've been a partner at your law firm for some time now.
Yeah, since 2020. Yeah, it'll be 5 years.
Okay, so you're at 5 years. So I am not a lawyer, but what do we do next? Like, what comes next after being a partner? What do you do?
There's no, so in the world of being a lawyer, partner can mean many things.
Okay.
So at some firms, you have the title partner, but there's no ownership.
Yes.
You're technically still an employee.
Yes.
I am an equity partner, so I have ownership. So I'm basically have a business.
Right.
So there's no limit when you have a business.
Correct.
That could be as big or as little as you want it to be. So I'm in the phase of building that business. But also I'd like to have other businesses that aren't necessarily legal. Probably going to write a book.
Oh, good job.
I'm just open to whatever God has for me.
Okay, that's good. So you're probably going to write a book. You're open to other businesses. And then as we kind of talk through this part of your story, when you write a book, what do you think is like going to be the most interesting chapter in that book?
I don't know. I've had quite a few lives, I feel like.
Yes, you have. You have. So that's kind of interesting.
Quite a few lives. I don't know what's most interesting to people, but I think one of the reoccurring themes in my life is I've been able to kind of go through adversity and overcome that and be bold and see bigger and better things on the other side.
Yes.
So, as you know, I've adopted kids.
Yes, you have.
I've had 2 marriages.
Yes.
I've had infertility challenges. I've had 6 miscarriages. What else? Just to throw things out.
Did you break a leg or anything?
No,
okay.
But I've been in an abusive relationship. Yeah. I've been broke. I've been rich. All of the things. So I think just being able to tell an authentic, transparent story of I consider myself as a regular person and how you overcome those things and create a life that you love, while having a professional life that people seem to admire.
Yeah.
But for me, that's not important. Like, what's the most important is that I really admire my life. Like, I like my life.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
That's very powerful.
Yeah.
Because most people do a lot of stuff for the aesthetics and not thinking about what that's going to look like in the long term. So here's something that I've admired that you did. And I think being part of that movement that was coming around, what was that, that was like 3 or 5 years ago with the George Floyd.
Oh, yeah.
And I admired your tenacity in helping the young man get out of jail that was in the car with George Floyd, and how you were willing to use your voice, even though you're like this big time lawyer, probably didn't have time, because I'm pretty confident he couldn't afford to pay you.
But I did that for free.
Yeah, you did that for free. So just knowing what you had access to, but still being willing to give back, I think that's something that people need to hear more about.
Well, I found it, again, a perspective, right?
Yeah.
I never considered it giving back. In fact, it gave to me more than I gave, in a sense. It was an opportunity. The family came to me through a friend of mine, and he was in jail in Houston after he left Minnesota. He was a passenger in the car with George Floyd at the time of his death. And he was in jail, and they were going to ship him back to Minnesota on some other warrants. And what I heard about what was happening with him, it was like unfair treatment. I think they surrounded him, arrested him, leaving dinner with his family. He had been traumatized from what he experienced with George Floyd.
Yeah.
Um, and so I wanted to help, and wanted to do whatever I could to help him. And so ultimately, I think I was on the phone for maybe 6 hours straight, just talking to everybody to get him out. And he walked out of that jail that night and joined the march that was going on downtown. Yep. He walked right out of jail, went into the march, and we were able to get him a lot of resources and services, all for free, to help him deal with the trauma that he experienced before he then had to go back to Minnesota to deal with his legal issues. Right. But I was really proud of what we were able to do to help him.
Yes, and I think that's something that definitely needs to be discussed and brought up, because many people have access to resources and ability, but how do you use your influence? I think that's ultimately where I want to leave this and have you speak on that. And then we're going to give us a they say, and then I'll tell you what that is in a minute. Okay. But how do you leverage your influence? We all have a measure of influence, whether you're the mailman or the custodian to the president to a lawyer. We all have a measure of influence. So how are you using your influence to help somebody else out? So I definitely feel like that really speaks to you leveraging your influence for something good.
I think Martin Luther King said this, or somebody, but everyone can be great because they can serve, right? We all have the ability to serve. Yep. And we all have the ability to give in ways that someone else needs. And so it does not have to be huge. It does not have to be this big attention-getting thing, but a very small gesture can make a huge difference in somebody's life. So I think we all just can look around and see how we can give and how we can help somebody else. I know it's cliche, but that is really, one, how to have a good life, is to see how you can serve and give to others. And so I just try to live that and try to teach my kids and just live by example.
Well, Axel and Stella are very giving. I can honestly say that. I can honestly say that. So as we wrap up, Ashlee, I always end They Say with asking my guests, what challenge did they overcome? But your perspective is everything. So you all things. So we want to hear about all things that just help you really stay there and get to where you are.
What challenge did I overcome?
Yes.
Is that the question?
Yes.
Oh, man. Like I said, I think this year, 2024, was a huge challenge for me. Probably the most challenging. Where I felt like I was almost like there were situations that were trying to take my self-confidence and my self-worth. Like it was changing the way that I was seeing and regarding myself. And sometimes you can get so deep into something where you lose track of who you are. And so I am grateful that those experiences taught me how it can be very subtle. And that's the thing I want to, it's not going to come like smashing you over your head. It's going to be little tiny things that happen that just cause you to compromise just a little bit more. And then you wake up and you're like, how did I get all the way over here? This is not who I am. Right. This is not what I accept. This is not what I would ever give or want to get from anyone. But it taught me that, what is it? The small foxes ruin
It's the little foxes that spoil the vine, girl.
The vine, right?
I say that every day to Samira.
And that's so true.
Yeah.
Which is, why you need to pay attention to just the little bitty ways in which you're not being true to yourself.
Correct.
Or you're compromising a value, or you're compromising something you want to do, because what that does is chip away at that muscle to say no.
Right.
And so it's very important that you can say no to the things that don't serve you, things that don't give to you, so that you can say yes to the things that do.
Amen. Nothing left to say, but thank you.
You're welcome.
I wouldn't have wanted to do a live podcast with anyone else. So I thank you for making time in your busy schedule.
Thank you for inviting me.
And Andrew, thank you for forcing me to do a live podcast, because I would continue to do it on my MacBook. And thank you guys so much for watching this episode of They Say.
Yay.
Oh man, that was really good.